Welcome, everyone, to episode 4 of the Positive Revolution Show. I'm your host, Dr. O, and I want to thank everyone for all the great feedback on the past episodes. And the main recommendation I got was to shorten the length of each episode. So this episode will be shorter and more concise. So let's not waste any more time. And first, let's talk about the importance of a positive mindset, and especially simplicity. Now, another powerful mindset for the positive revolution is simplicity. Too often we overcomplicate things. Trying to include too much detail loses the audience. Pages and pages of reports are left unread. Chart after unreadable chart are shared with no explanations. Now, as our world of information becomes increasingly saturated, overcomplication takes over. So what are we supposed to do? We are constantly told to abide by the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. It's easier said than done. Making things simple is critical to becoming efficient, constructive, and effective. However, complexity is much easier. But simplicity empowers positivity by keeping your audience engaged and inspired to follow your recommendations. However, simplicity is not that easy. Simplicity takes effort and motivation, and it needs to become part of the way you view things. Complexity creates inefficiencies, waste, and wasted mental energy, resulting in negativity. And knowing what to pay attention to and what to ignore are the critical steps towards creating simplicity. Now, things evolve and they become more complex, and complexity becomes unnoticeable. Increased complexity becomes the norm. And to achieve simplicity takes effort and choice. The slow championing, practice, and understanding of simplicity can become habitual. And as you become skilled in simplicity, seeking out complexity will become a habit. Waste will be hunted down and eliminated, and the fight against complexity is simplicity. So focus is a key part of simplicity, and as you improve your mindfulness and your focus, you'll be able to clearly think about what you are working on and only include the bare necessities. If you're writing a procedure, keep it very simple. The simpler, the better. Simplicity makes it much easier for someone to understand what you're trying to communicate. Now, simplicity does not mean simplistic. Simplicity does not mean oversimplification. Simplicity is keeping the core essence and removing everything else for clear and concise communication. So constantly work on simplifying things. When writing an email, use plain, simple language. Use short words, brief sentences, and short paragraphs. Use simple, clear words that align with your audience. Use action verbs and terms your readers can visualize. Write to express, not to impress. And edit your writing. Lose adjectives and adverbs and clauses. And the goal is to keep reducing to get at the core message. You need to actively work hard to reduce and eliminate. And the goal is to end up with only the vital kernel of information. And when speaking, get to the point. Be clear and understandable. The shorter, the better. Don't keep repeating yourself. Be clear and concise. Avoid buzzwords. Simplicity helps improve listening. So keep asking why and how and what is the value. And simplicity will become a driver of continuous improvement and innovation. For meetings, use an agenda. Be strict on time and keep the meeting short. And avoid meetings for the sake of habit. If you can share the information in an email or by talking to someone directly, don't schedule the meeting. Remember, everyone's time is valuable, and wasting people's time creates a negative atmosphere. Simplicity breeds positivity. It's the same with presentations. Use more pictures than words. Keep the number of slides to a minimum and focus on only a few points in the presentation. Meetings and presentations that are not simple and to the point are a waste of time and money. Or what about customer service? Why don't more companies have a one-and-done policy where one person who you speak with has the authority to fix your problem, no matter how complicated? Don't overcomplicate your business or your solutions. Customers want simple things. Think about how easy it is to find a product, order it, receive it, and return it at Amazon or Zappos. People crave simplicity, and when they find it, they keep coming back. So, in everything you do, think of how to make it as simple as possible without becoming simplistic. And just like mindfulness, this is much harder than it sounds. You have to make simplicity a goal. And the more you understand something, the simpler you can explain it. And like mindfulness, you get better at simplifying things through focus and practice. Now, the quest for simplicity is also about finding alternative ways to do or say something. And you need to be flexible. Start over if you feel what you're working on is not simple enough. A key part of the positive revolution is the quest for simplicity. Simplicity is about practice and slowly building simplicity into a skill and a habit. And don't give up. Small steps eventually result in big changes, just like anything else. And as legendary military strategist Karl von Clausewitz said, everything is simple in war, but the simplest thing is difficult. So, now about simplicity, why don't we talk about some positive news? Unfortunately, teachers are continually underappreciated and underpaid, even though they do amazing things every day. And this story is another great example of the incredible impact that teachers have on students' lives. Now, Damien was set to leave school in Aurora, Colorado when he got sick. He had a really bad kidney disease and had to move to a hospital as social services could not find a suitable foster family. And when he informed his math teacher and his friend, Finn Lanning, Finn decided he could not let his student and friend be alone. So like any good friend, he took him in so he could have a stable home to increase his chances for a future kidney transplant. So Finn, he was now his teacher and a foster parent. And not only were they best friends, but Finn eventually adopted Damien and he got the kidney transplant. From teacher and student to father and son. Great story. Now stop crying, but this is just an amazing act of kindness and compassion. So how about a time for a good laugh? Southwest Airlines employees are known for their wacky sense of humor, but what about their customers? Southwest Airlines at Louis Armstrong Airport in New Orleans requires everyone who asks a question to sing a song. So when this guy in the video was given the mic and started singing, he made everyone's day at the gate. In this video, definitely take a look at it. You see and hear him singing the song No Diggity, Dignity to everyone at the gate. And I love watching everyone's reactions. In a place where most people are stressed and grumpy, this one person was able to bring some laughter into everyone's lives. Remember, it's not the size of the things you do, it's the impact. And Blackstreet would be really proud of this, no doubt. And finally, how about some positive news about helping the environment? Sort of. Instead of using harmful chemicals to kill weeds, this tractor kills them with fire. And Elon Musk would be really proud of this awesome flamethrower that farmer Jamie Gilchrist created. He attached a propane tank to his tractor, and he created the coolest weed killer you've ever seen. The cool thing is, it doesn't leave any nasty chemicals beyond. I just hope that, all those critters in the area got out of there before he lit it off. So now let's talk about an amazing person, Dr. Edward de Bono. Now, organizations grow and improve by introducing new or updated products or services, developing effective and efficient processes, and creating new technologies or customer experiences. And all of these activities have a similar foundation. They all start with a creative new idea. And ideas are the foundation of everything we do. The need for a continuous supply of new, fresh ideas is critical for long-term organizational health and to improve the world around us. Unfortunately, most of us were never taught how to develop new ideas. And most of us think we are either creative or not, or great ideas just happen serendipitously. However, there is a better way to develop a continuous stream of new ideas than just winging it or praying. One of the leaders in systematic and deliberate creative thinking techniques is Dr. Edward de Bono. And Dr. De Bono is a leading authority in the field of creative thinking, innovation, and direct teaching as a skill. Yes, a skill. We've talked about this before, and that means that anyone can get better at creating new ideas with the right tools, techniques, and practice. And Dr. De Bono developed a wide range of deliberate thinking methods, applications emphasizing thinking as a deliberate act than a reactive one. Born in Malta, Dr. De Bono changed the way people look at creativity and how ideas are developed. His teachings have been controversial, especially with academics. But for real-world business practitioners, De Bono's teachings are valuable for every area within organizations. He's written over 50 books that have been translated into over 35 languages. He's known for inventing lateral thinking, parallel thinking, the 6 thinking hats, and the random word technique, among many other methods to improve thinking and developing new ideas. His teachings focus on practical thinking skills that are easy to learn, simple to apply, and they can be used by anyone from a 4-year-old to an 84-year-old. His teachings have been adopted by schools, public and private companies, and governments all over the world. Companies such as IBM, Siemens, AT&T, DuPont, and British Airways have trained thousands of employees and adopted many of De Bono's teachings. And his teachings can help you and your organization improve and outthink your competitors. Now, I am a certified trainer in the De Bono creative thinking system, and I use his teachings every day for new product development, product management, and strategic marketing. And I know firsthand how effective these tools and techniques are, and that's why I share them all the time. Now, Dr. De Bono, he's taught at prestigious universities such as Oxford, Cambridge, and Harvard, and he's been at the forefront of creativity and innovation for decades. All the way back in 1967, he published his first book, The Use of Lateral Thinking, which is considered to be one of his best works because in it, he introduced the concept of lateral thinking. And lateral thinking is defined as a method for solving problems by making unusual or unexpected connections between ideas. And lateral thinking is solving problems through an indirect and creative approach using reasoning that is not immediately obvious and involving ideas that may not be obtainable by using only traditional step-by-step logic. Unlike traditional thinking, also known as vertical thinking, where ideas are built one upon each other, lateral thinking forces you to attack problems from the side. And according to De Bono, lateral thinking deliberately distances itself from the standard perception of creativity or that vertical logic, which is the classic method for problem solving. And unlike lateral thinking, vertical thinking is habitual thinking that explores only the most obvious solutions to a problem, basically the traditional way most of us think. Now, lateral thinking moves away from argument and conflict and trying to get your idea accepted. The goal of lateral thinking is to move away from this and focus on generating new ideas. This methodology is now used in a number of organizations around the world, and it's proven to be extremely useful in terms of problem identification, problem solving, and inducing motivation among team members. De Bono's known as the father of lateral thinking. Throughout the 70s and the 80s, he wrote multiple books, and in 1982, his work titled De Bono's Course on Thinking was made into a television show that was aired on the BBC. And in 85, he published The 6 Thinking Hats, which is considered one of his greatest literary works and provides readers with effective tools for group discussion and individual thinking. It also provides a more detailed insight into the concept of parallel thinking and critical thinking. Now, in 1995, he created a documentary based on the future titled 2040 Possibilities by Edward De Bono. And in 1996, the De Bono Institute was established in Australia. In 1999, he started offering online courses, and throughout the 2000s, he traveled around the world and presented lectures to the world's leading corporations. He also developed the DAT system, which is taught in many school systems. DAT stands for Direct Attention Thinking Tools, and it consists of 10 attention-directing tools to help students change perceptions and generate alternative ways of doing things. It's also really helpful in business and politics. Now, the 10 tools within DAT are PMI, which stands for plus, minus, and interesting. It ensures that all sides of a matter have been considered before a decision or a commitment is made. There's CNS, which is consequence and sequel, which is about looking ahead to see the consequences of an action plan, decision, or rule. There's RAD, which is recognize, analyze, and divide, and it forces you to break a larger concept into smaller, more manageable parts. There's CAF, which is consider all factors, which allows users to explore all the factors related to an action, a decision, a plan, a judgment, or a conclusion. AGO is aims, goals, and objectives. It allows you to focus directly and deliberately on the intentions behind actions. APC is alternatives, possibilities, and choices. Forces you to deliberately try to find other ways to do something. There's also OPV for other people's views and encourages you to put yourself in other people's shoes. And then there's KVI, which is key values involved to make sure your thinking serves your values. FIP for first important priorities makes you select the most important ideas, factors, objectives, things like that. Makes you really focus. And then there's DOCA, decisions, outcomes, choices, and actions. And it directs attention to the outcome of the thinking and the action that follows. Now, Dr. Bono, he's written many, many books. He's received a large number of awards, and he's inspired many individuals and organizations, including myself. His theories, tools, and techniques can be used in your personal and professional lives. And the power of lateral and parallel thinking is the adoption of deliberate and systematic methods to develop new ideas anytime and any place. So I encourage you, read his books, start using the tools every day to transform your life and make positive change. So now let's talk a little bit more about one of the main tools within parallel thinking, the 6 thinking hats. Now, this one I really like. This is a great tool. And the main tool within Dr. Bono's theory of parallel thinking is the 6 thinking hats. And the tool allows teams to separate thinking into 6 clear functions and roles. And each thinking role is identified with a colored symbolic thinking hat. The colored hats are used as metaphors for each thinking direction. And by mentally wearing and switching hats, you can easily focus or redirect your thoughts, conversations, or improve meetings. The 6 thinking hats is a powerful alternative to brainstorming because it forces all participants to focus on a specific topic in parallel. In addition, everyone focuses on one specific thinking process at a time. For example, you focus on negatives and the positives and new ideas and emotions. And the human brain does not like to jump around and multitask, which typically occurs in most brainstorms and meetings. The 6 thinking hats forces everyone to focus on a specific thinking mode at the same time. Also, the 6 thinking hats forces everyone to look at all perspectives of a topic. Now, the following are the roles of each metaphorically colored hat. Now, the blue hat acts like the conductor of an orchestra. It manages the thinking and the hat sequence, as well as setting the agenda for the session. Now, the white hat is objective and neutral, and it focuses on what information the group has, what information is still needed, as well as other people's views, and it's about the facts. Now, the red hat allows everyone to quickly share how they feel about the topic. It's about allowing emotions and feelings to be shared openly, which is extremely critical during decision making. Now, the black hat is probably the most important but overused hat. Under the black hat, the group discusses the risks, difficulties, and problems. It allows the group to identify reasons to be cautious and conservative. And under the yellow hat, the group shares the benefits and feasibility of the idea or topic. And finally, under the green hat, it's about new ideas and generating possibilities. You can use the hats to develop new ideas, make decisions, explore problems, conduct performance reviews, or even improve processes. Organizations such as Speedo, Dow Chemicals, and British Airways have adopted the hats as a formalized and structured method for effective and efficient discussions. Now, similar to golf clubs, each hat has a specific purpose. For example, you would not use a driver on the putting green because there's a specific club for that job, the putter. You use each hat for one specific thinking mode and one hat at a time. And you use the hats in sequence, focused on a specific topic within a limited amount of time. And by mentally wearing and switching the hats, it's easy to focus or redirect your thoughts, the conversation, or the meeting. And the hats force everyone to look at all perspectives of a topic, the weaknesses, the concerns, the benefits, problems, the data, as well as your emotions. And in addition, the hats can reduce meeting times by 50% while ensuring a thorough review of a topic in a short amount of time. Now, parallel thinking and the hats are designed to ensure each area of focus for a topic and problem is discussed individually. Then the group moves to the next area of focus until the topic is thoroughly analyzed. For example, the group only discusses the white hat, what data and information is available, and then moves to the red hat, only discussing emotions or feelings. The group does not jump back and forth between different hats. The group stays on one hat and then moves on, leveraging focus and discipline in a limited amount of time per hat. Now, the strength of the hats is forcing team members to analyze a topic holistically. In addition, everyone is encouraged to use each hat and participate in the discussion. For example, those who are against the idea must come up with positive aspects, which is the yellow hat, while those who love the idea must identify possible problems or concerns, which is the black hat. Now, some of the key benefits in using the 6 thinking hats are it's simple to learn and use and implement. It's really not dependent on others because you can use it by yourself or with a group. It modifies behavior without attack. Everyone's empowered. It can be used at all levels and all ages. It improves cross-functional interaction as well as reducing conflict. It encourages cooperation. And members are able to see results right away, immediately. And it also supports other change initiatives within your organization. Even with good courtesy and manners and clearly shared objectives in any collaborative thinking activity, there's a natural tendency for spaghetti thinking, where one person is thinking about the benefits while another considers the facts and so on. And the hats avoid all this. Everyone considers and all look in the same direction together in parallel. Finally, the hats are not a description of a person, but a way to look at things. They should not be used to describe thinking that has already taken place, but they're directions in which to think next. Therefore, the hats aid in better design, decision-making, and problem. So I really encourage you, learn the 6 thinking hats, practice them by yourself, and then slowly introduce them to friends and family and coworkers so you can make better analysis and decisions. Okay, so now that you know of one of the most powerful tools for decision-making and analysis, let's check out some really cool stuff that I found over the last couple of weeks. Okay, now the first cool innovation that I recently came across was called Baxter. And Baxter is an industrial robot built by Rethink Robotics. It was introduced in September 2011, and it's a 2-armed robot with an animated face. It's about 3 feet tall and weighs about 165 pounds without its pedestal. When you put the pedestal there, it can be up to 6 feet 3 inches tall and weigh over 300 pounds. And it's used for simple industrial jobs such as loading and unloading, sorting and handling of materials. Baxter has an animated screen for its face and can display multiple facial expressions. It has sensors on its head and hands which allow it to sense people nearby and give it the ability to adapt to its environment, as well as the ability to handle fine, detailed tasks. It runs on an open source robot operating system on a regular personal computer, which is located in its chest. And it can be a standalone or placed on a 4-legged pedestal with wheels so it can be mobile. And unlike traditional robots, which are programmed to follow a specific set of commands, Baxter can be programmed by moving its hand to perform a task whose motions the computer will then memorize and be able to repeat them. There's extra dials and buttons and controls on Baxter's arm for more precision and features if you need that. But the best part of Baxter is it can be programmed by unskilled workers in a few minutes. Now, many universities are also using Baxter as part of the courses in robotics, mechanical engineering, computational sciences, providing students the experience of using current robotics technology, to provide practical applications of the real world. Baxter provides many advantages over traditional robots in that no cages are required and students can work alongside him in a classroom environment without the fear of injury. This feature is also useful for Baxter's application in commercial usage. And researchers are now also using Baxter to try to find solutions to problems such as Ebola workers in West Africa, how to have a robotic solution to reduce the risk of infection for aid workers. The great thing also about Baxter is it only costs about $25,000, which is the equivalent of an average U.S. production worker's annual salary. So it's targeted at small and medium-sized companies. Now, another really cool use of robots is as jockeys in camel racing in the Middle East. Developed in 2004, the robotic jockeys are slowly phasing out the use of human jockeys, which in the case of camel racing in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the UAE, and Qatar often employ small children who reportedly suffer systematic and repeated human rights abuses. So in response to international condemnation, the nations of Qatar and the UAE have banned the use of human jockeys in favor of robots. Really good move and, going forward. So the government of Qatar had initiated the development in the beginning of 2001. And one of the first problems that the robot designers faced was that the camels were conditioned with human jockeys. And the early robot designs really frightened the camels. So the designs were modified and more human-like features were added, including like a mannequin-like face, sunglasses, hats, and even traditional perfumes used by human jockeys. Other technical issues included the conditions that the robots on the computers would be put under. The high temperatures in the desert, it's very dusty, as well as along with a fast-moving and bumpy, uneven ride. Now, the first successful race featuring robotic jockeys happened in 2005 in Qatar. The robots were aluminum frame with a thorax, basically, that the circuit box was attached. It's about the size of a big book, which also controlled the arms for the whips and the reins to hold on. The robots, they're transmitted also the speed and heart rates of the camel. The robot jockeys, they're small and light. They weigh about 3 kilograms. They're equipped with two-way radio controls, shock sensors, and they're controlled by operators who drive alongside the racetrack in SUVs. Now, a great innovation to keep a classic sport alive while eliminating child abuse. It's a really win-win situation. But let's wait and see. Maybe that future there's going to be robot camels. I think animal activists are also going to look into that. So some really cool innovations to solve some big problems. And that's what this podcast is all about, is to give you information and inspire you to go solve your own problems. So now let's talk about the book of the week. Now, this week's book of the week is Parallel Thinking by Edward de Bono. We talked a little bit about parallel thinking, and this book provides a thorough overview of his parallel thinking theory. Now, parallel thinking is described as a constructive alternative to adversarial thinking, debate, and the approaches exemplified by the Greek gang of three, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Now, in general, parallel thinking is a further development of de Bono's lateral thinking, focusing even more on exploration, looking for what can be, rather than focusing on what is. And it's about movement and the pursuit of alternatives and opportunities. Parallel thinking is defined as a thinking process where focus is split in specific directions. And when done in a group, it effectively avoids the consequences of the adversarial approach as often used in Western courts, politics, and business. In traditional adversarial debate and thinking, the objective is to prove or disprove statements put forward by each side. And this is also known as the dialectic approach. Each side seeks to criticize the other point of view based on the teachings of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. And when we think this way, we try to do too much at once. We may be looking at the information, forming ideas, and judging someone else's ideas all at the same time. And like I mentioned before, our brains were not developed for multitasking. Parallel thinking allows for exploration of a subject where all participants can contribute in parallel with knowledge, facts, and feelings. Parallel thinking separates thinking to ensure participants work together in parallel, hence the name, to achieve the optimal solution. Now, the goal is for everyone to move together in parallel to develop the best ideas, where unlike in traditional Western-style thinking, parallel thinking avoids arguments and conflict, focusing instead on the optimal solution, not the solution someone is trying to convince you to accept. Parallel thinking ensures everyone moves forward together in lockstep. Now, understanding the power of parallel thinking allows individuals and organizations the ability to continually challenge the status quo and search for new and better ideas. And that's a great part of the 6 thinking hats. Now, there is a suggestion that the chemical setting in the brain, the neurotransmitters and other neurochemicals, may be different when we're being positive from when we're being negative and from when we're being creative. And knowing this and understanding this, there's an absolute need to separate out the different components of thinking in order to do each properly, because it would be impossible to have one brain setting that was ideal for all sorts of thinking. Traditional argument is totally useless for such a design process. Instead, we need parallel thinking, where each thinker puts forward his or her thoughts in parallel with the thoughts of others. And most importantly, not attacking the thoughts of others, but everyone working together for the most optimal idea or decision. They focusing on the best idea and not just winning will create winning new ideas. So I have to recommend, read this great book, start changing how you and your teams discuss things and make decisions. Now, I use parallel thinking all the time, both in my personal work, as well as I teach it to many organizations. So I strongly recommend that you pick up the book and practice parallel thinking as well as the 6 thinking hats. Well, that's a wrap on episode 4. So please keep the feedback and recommendations coming and let me know any topics you would like me to discuss. I will keep sharing a variety of positive content to keep you inspired and help develop your creative thinking, innovation, and problem-solving skills. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you next week, same time, same place.